How do we identify personal narratives? And what should we include when we tell our own stories? First, take a minute and just listen as I read the poem. Imagine I am the one who wrote it. What do you think you know about me? How do you know? And this is Two of a Kind by Nikki Grimes. Mom calls me Daddy's girl, 'cause him and me were both dreamers. Close your eyes, he used to say. Tell me what you see. I'd say sky, shooting stars, rainbows wrapped round the earth. Now it's my turn. I see you and me bundled up in silver spacesuits, bouncing on the moon. Race you, he'd say, and we'd laugh, back before he moved across the street, and we moved across the city. Our laughter has a lot farther to travel now. Take a minute and ask yourself, what do you know about the writer? A personal narrative piece is the author inviting us into their life as if they are handing us a photo album to see scenes and snapshots of themselves. Just from reading Nikki Grimes' poem, these are some of the guesses that I would make about her life. She cares about the stars in space because she mentioned them as details several times. She has warm memories of her father because she talks about them laughing. She also titled the poem Two of a Kind. Her parents were divorced at some point and she moved away from him. At the end of the poem, she talks about their laughter having to travel a further distance. She lives in a city. And her mother knows she's closer to her father because she calls her Daddy's girl. Now let's think about the ways the author invites us in. What are some of the clues that we can tell that this is a personal narrative piece? The first clue, first person. When the author says me and I, it's as if the author is speaking directly to us. This is her voice and her story. When we see first person, that is a strong clue that this could be a personal narrative piece. The second clue, there are specific details about the author's life. She's telling us about one specific moment. Another clue that we are reading some sort of personal narrative, dialogue. When we hear characters talking to one another, paired with some of the other clues, we might be able to assume that this is something that really happened, and she is recording what people said. Now, often when authors write personal narratives, they might not remember exactly what was said at the time, but she's summarizing and making it up as best she can to recreate this moment in her life. The last clue that this is personal narrative, a point or lesson at the end. When author says our laughter has a lot farther to travel now, she's talking about the idea that distance will not disconnect them. The laughter will continue to travel, and she'll continue to stay close to her father. So what will I ask you to look for as we read personal narratives throughout this unit? Look for the author's use of first person. Look for the rich details about the author's life. Typically, they will talk about one specific event. In that event, we will see dialogue most likely. And at the end of the piece, more times than not, we'll learn some sort of lesson. People don't just tell stories about themselves for fun. Usually they have something that they want to share with someone else, and we get to learn from their story. When we get to the end of the unit, as you write your own personal narratives, I would ask you to keep these 4 traits in mind.